The automatic doors of the Bright Mart in Dayton, Ohio slid open as cold wind rushed in, and a young mother named Sabrina Cole stepped inside with trembling hands and red eyes. She clutched a plastic bag filled with unopened baby essentials, formula cans, tiny diapers, and a pacifier set that still had the price tag dangling. Anyone watching could tell she didn't want to be there. She looked like someone walking toward the edge of a cliff with no other choice. Her rent was already overdue. Her electricity bill carried a final notice, and the daycare she cleaned part-time was cutting staff. The baby essentials in her hands represented the last gasp of financial hope she had left. With her 3-month-old daughter, Hazel, sleeping in an old stroller, Sabrina stepped into the returns line, her heart breaking at every step because she knew she was returning the most essential pieces of her child's survival. If you believe kindness, second chances, and humanity can change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to support this channel. Your engagement helps bring more stories like this to the world. Behind her in line stood a man who looked completely out of place. While others wore worn jackets and hurried expressions, he wore a charcoal coat tailored perfectly to his broad shoulders, his hair slicked back but slightly wind-tousled as if he had been standing outside thinking too long. His name was Marcus Hale, CEO of Hale & Sons Logistics, a company as massive as the weight on his shoulders. Once celebrated for innovation and leadership, Marcus had become a ghost in his own life after losing his wife 3 years earlier. The house felt enormous, the dinners silent, and he walked through board meetings like a machine. The cold season had dragged him into a depression as deep as the Ohio winter, and for the first time in months, he had wandered somewhere alone without a driver or assistant. He didn't know what he was looking for that day until he saw Sabrina. The cashier tried to be gentle, but Sabrina still winced at every item scanned and handed back across the counter. Each beep of the register sounded like a countdown to something she feared she might never recover from. She whispered that she needed the refund to pay her electric bills so her baby wouldn't have to sleep wrapped in coats again. Her voice cracked. The cashier looked helpless and embarrassed for being unable to do anything more than process numbers. Hazel's pacifier slipped from the stroller, and Sabrina didn't have the energy to pick it up. Marcus stepped forward, bent down, and retrieved it, gently placing it in her hands. It seemed like nothing, just a stranger's act of courtesy, but Sabrina hadn't been treated like she mattered in so long that the moment felt like breath after drowning. As Sabrina prepared to leave, Marcus heard himself offering to carry her bag. It surprised him. He had spent years avoiding emotional connections and situations that reminded him of what he lost. But something about Sabrina's fragility, her quiet strength beneath despair, shook his detachment. Outside, the wind whipped cruelly as she adjusted Hazel's blanket. Without introducing himself or giving her a speech, Marcus reached for his wallet and tried to hand her the refund in cash. Sabrina stepped back, shaking her head. She refused charity, not because she didn't need it, but because she was terrified it would make her feel even smaller. She had been judged, pitied, and dismissed too many times to survive another blow to her dignity. Marcus paused, realizing he needed to approach her differently. He instead asked where she worked. Sabrina explained that the daycare she cleaned couldn't offer her more hours, and that she had once studied early childhood education before her pregnancy forced her to drop out. Her dreams had been shelved like the pacifier clipped to her child's blanket. Marcus listened intently, not as a businessman analyzing data, but as a man who finally felt something stir in his heart. He slipped his business card into her coat pocket, told her to call him if she ever needed help finding work, and walked away before she could refuse again. That night, Sabrina rocked Hazel to sleep in their dim apartment, warmed only by the hope that maybe, just maybe, something could change. But she never called. Days passed, and she convinced herself that Marcus only offered help because he felt sorry for her. She had been disappointed too many times by promises that crumbled. Then, on the 5th night, her electricity was cut off. Holding Hazel close, Sabrina sat in the dark with tears running down her face. The card still rested in her pocket. She dialed the number. Marcus answered on the first ring. He didn't ask questions, didn't shame her, didn't make her beg. He arranged transportation for her the next morning to his company headquarters in Cincinnati. Sabrina had no idea what to expect. She dressed in her neatest outfit, a faded blouse and black pants that fit loosely around her thinner-than-before frame. She brought Hazel, expecting judgment, expecting someone to tell her she was wasting their time. Instead, she was greeted with warmth. Marcus had already spoken to his HR director and created a position for Sabrina as a childcare coordinator for employees' families, a role that allowed her to work part-time on-site while Hazel stayed in the nursery. He provided on-the-job training and promised advancement if she wanted it. The salary felt unreal. Sabrina could finally afford heat, baby essentials, and even a small savings account. More than money, what changed her life was feeling seen. She regained confidence, stood straighter, spoke louder. People respected her. For the first time since Hazel was born, Sabrina believed she wasn't a burden on the world. She started night classes to finish her education. She learned to dream again. Marcus, watching from his office window, felt a warmth in his chest he thought he lost. Forever. He had helped her, but she had unknowingly helped him too. She reminded him that hearts can restart like engines in the cold if someone gives them the spark. Months passed, and the daycare room Sabrina managed became a beacon in the company. Parents adored her, children trusted her, and one afternoon Marcus walked in to find Hazel taking her first steps toward Sabrina. He smiled, an honest smile that touched his eyes, the first in years. He realized he was witnessing more than a moment. He was witnessing someone's life rebuilt from the foundation. He offered Sabrina a promotion that doubled her salary and included college tuition assistance, so she could finish her early childhood education degree properly. She accepted, tears streaming quietly. Near the end of that workday, Sabrina stepped into Marcus's office, holding Hazel and trying to find the right words. She thanked him and said she would never forget the day he saw her at her lowest and didn't look away. Marcus simply replied that sometimes the universe puts broken people in our path so we can help each other mend. Neither of them promised forever. Neither expected anything beyond kindness, but they both understood that they had changed each other's worlds. There was no fairy tale kiss or dramatic declaration, just two people standing in gratitude in the beginning of something hopeful. Friendship, trust, maybe one day something deeper, but in its own time. Healing isn't rushed. If this story touched your heart, please support it by liking the video, sharing it, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment about what part moved you the most. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive and reaching others who might need them. Before you go, please comment this to support the channel. Kindness can change a destiny. Sabrina walked out of the building that evening, Hazel bundled in her arms, the sun setting like gold behind the skyline. The wind was still cold, but she no longer felt winter in her bones. For the first time, she felt the world warming around her, one kindness at a time.